On this Sunday night, anger and accountability. Residents of an Ontario town lash out at police over their investigation into an alleged sexual assault on a young girl.
If you guys are called for a child, you guys should be there when the call is put out.
What officers had to say about why they told the public it was an animal attack. Rosie responds.
I know he can't do that, but the Supreme Court has given him unbridled powers.
Why President Trump is threatening to revoke O'Donnell's U.S. citizenship. And how do Americans feel about Trump's immigration crackdown? Plus, wrangling with the record books.
Read a lot about it. It sounds like good fun.
Why this could be a history-making weekend at the Calgary Stampede.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. We begin with the outrage and calls for accountability from residents of a rural Ontario community following a disturbing attack on an 8-year-old girl. Investigators initially said it was caused by an animal, but 2 weeks later, they arrested a 17-year-old, now charged with attempted murder and sexual assault with a weapon. Last night, nearly 100 people packed the community centre in Quadville, west of Ottawa, pressing police on the steps taken during the early stages of their investigation.
How did it take you guys as long as it did to find that little girl? Almost 6 hours.
It took 2 weeks of us thinking it could potentially be an animal attack. Why so long?
Roughly how long from when you found out it wasn't an animal until you told us it wasn't an animal?
The 8-year-old victim was found with life-threatening injuries on June 24th, and she remains in hospital. Nathaniel Dove has the latest on the investigation from Quadville tonight.
In the small hamlet of Quadville, frustration at police after weeks with no answers.
If you guys are called for a child, you guys should be there when the call is put out.
It took me from my location today 2 hours to get to Quadville.
All residents here knew at first was on June 23rd, an 8-year-old girl was missing. Fewer than 300 people live in Quadville. Everyone knows everyone. Everyone searched. Ontario Provincial Police joined when they could, though they're based hours away. Once officers found her, they realized she had been attacked. She was in hospital with life-threatening injuries. Police warned it might have been an animal. Ahead of the meeting, the mayor told Global News residents know about the wolves and lynx in the woods and when they hunt, so the explanation didn't quite track.
I think for a lot of people, they didn't feel it was the right decision.
They were right. On Saturday, the OPP insisted they told the town it wasn't an animal as soon as they knew. Police arrested a 17-year-old boy and charged him with attempted murder and sexual assault with a weapon. Then police took the extraordinary step to call a meeting. Residents here tell Global News all the kids play together and they all know both the victim and the suspect. What they wanted to know is why it took police so long to rule out an animal attack and for officers to arrest the 17-year-old. Roughly a third of the town convened.
Is there any possibility that there was anyone else involved, or we're pretty certain it was the 17-year-old and it's done?
Police said what they could.
The investigation is still ongoing and continues.
I just feel that the police did a really good job at giving us some solace that they did the right thing for us.
Recovery looks different in a tight-knit community.
It's been a bit difficult to figure out how to support both families.
Above all, residents say they're hoping for the girl's recovery. A family friend told Global News she's doing well, though is still in hospital and can't yet talk. The suspect remains in custody. Nathaniel Dove, Global News, Quadville, Ontario.
Soaring temperatures are fueling wildfires across much of Western Canada and sparking new evacuation orders. In BC, crews are battling more than a dozen out-of-control wildfires. One of the latest is near the town of Princeton, where residents have been told to leave. Officials believe that fire was caused by human activity. Last Thursday, Manitoba declared its second province-wide state of emergency this year as more fires forced thousands from their homes. In Saskatchewan, hundreds also fled Beauville after a fire managed to reach the the edge of that town last week, but officials now say that shifting winds are helping to push the flames away from that community. Turning to news overseas now. In central Gaza, at least 8 Palestinians were killed by an Israeli strike while they were collecting water. According to hospital staff, the Israeli strike hit a water distribution point in the Nuseirat refugee camp, killing 6 children and wounding 17 others. Israel's military says the missile was meant to hit an Islamic Jihad militant in the area, but that a malfunction caused it to miss the target. Elsewhere overnight, Israeli strikes destroyed residential buildings in Gaza City. After 21 months of war in Gaza, that death toll has now passed 58,000, according to Palestinian health officials. Well, it's shaping up to be a pivotal week for the war in Ukraine. U.S. President Donald Trump will host the head of NATO in Washington for 2 days of talks beginning tomorrow. A NATO statement says Secretary General Mark Rutte will meet Trump, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. They'll discuss U.S. plans to sell weapons to NATO allies that can then be passed to Ukraine's military. Trump says he'll also make a major statement on Russia this week. The talks come at a time when U.S.-led ceasefire negotiations appear to have stalled, and Trump is showing growing frustration towards Russian President Vladimir Putin and an apparent willingness to help Ukraine. When that meeting happens, a Canadian warship carrying some 250 military members will be making its way towards European waters for a mission with NATO allies. It's the first time HMCS St. John's will be in the region since the war in Ukraine began. And as Heidi Petracek reports, the trip is also taking place against the backdrop of the federal government's promise to meet NATO's defense spending targets.
Bye, buddy. Families of those who serve on HMCS St. John's gathered to say goodbye. The ship about to depart on Canada's largest current international military deployment. Christine Selkirk wishing her daughter well on her second tour as a sonar operator.
We've got to show what we have and not be stepped on.
The last time this ship participated in Operation Reassurance was before Russia's full-scale attack on Ukraine and Trump's second presidency. Operation Reassurance was launched after Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014. Canada sends 1,900 members of land, sea, and air forces to train with allies and conduct surveillance, all in the name of deterrence.
Thus far, it has worked. We have not seen any effort by Russia to attack a NATO country, despite its willingness to attack non-NATO countries.
We've got the readiness training and everything involved in order to make sure that we're able to support our partners and be deployable.
It's less than a month after the Prime Minister committed Canada to a new defense spending target of 5% of GDP at the NATO summit.
So some of that additional spending is basically going to kind of raise the overall level of operational readiness, which would have kind of a growing impact on being able to have the ships that go to do things like Operation Reassurance be even more ready earlier than they have been the last few years.
For the Navy, that increased spending could mean more sailors.
Because it's not just a matter of pulling triggers on guns, it's a matter of having to run the ship, and that requires a variety of skill sets.
Along with more vessels.
Very strong probability that a good chunk of that funding is going to go to see Canada acquire a fleet of conventionally armed, conventionally powered submarines, and potentially other naval investments too.
Back on the wharf in Halifax, folks like Christine Selkirk welcome the promise to spend more on defense.
They've been woefully underfunded, I believe.
Just as those funds will take time to come, so will the return of HMCS St. John's, due back in December. Heidi Petracek, Global News, Halifax.
The European Union is again delaying its retaliatory tariffs against the United States after President Trump threatened to impose additional 30% tariffs on EU imports. The European Commission president says they're extending the delay until early August. Ursula von der Leyen says the decision reflects their preference for a negotiated solution to the trade war, though she says the EU is ready to target $150 billion in U.S. goods. Europe now joins Canada and dozens of other nations facing additional U.S. tariffs starting August 1st if they fail to negotiate a new deal with the Trump administration. Trump's long-standing grudge against a former TV celebrity has taken a strange turn. The president says he's considering revoking the U.S. citizenship of Rosie O'Donnell, the New York-born actor, talk show host, and outspoken Trump critic. It's the latest example of Trump weaponizing immigration policies to attack his political opponents. And as Candace Cole reports, opinion polls suggest Americans aren't on side.
In an attempt to wield his executive power to settle a personal score, President Donald Trump took aim at American-born comedian and talk show host Rosie O'Donnell, reigniting a feud that's gone on nearly 20 years. On Truth Social, Trump said O'Donnell is not in the best interest of the country, saying, quote, "I am giving serious consideration to taking away her citizenship. She is a threat to humanity and should remain in the wonderful country of Ireland if they want her. God bless America." The threat comes a week after O'Donnell took to TikTok criticizing Trump's cuts to the National Weather Service in the midst of the deadly Texas floods that have killed over 100 people.
When the president guts all of the early warning systems and the weathering forecast abilities of the government, these are the results that we're going to start to see.
In response, O'Donnell said on social media, "You want to revoke my citizenship? Go ahead and try. King Joffrey with a tangerine spray tan. I'm not yours to silence. I never was." Sunday on Ireland's RTE, O'Donnell sharply criticized Trump's immigration policy.
The Supreme Court has given him unbridled powers, and who knows what he can and can't do. This guy is a danger to the world.
O'Donnell moved to Ireland just 5 days before Trump was sworn back into office. Their feud dating back to 2006 when O'Donnell blasted Trump on The View for his handling of controversial allegations that surfaced about the newly crowned Miss USA. Trump has no legal authority to deport U.S.-born citizens to other countries, but has floated the idea recently.
We also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies on the back of the head with a baseball bat. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country.
He's also pushing to end birthright citizenship, which a federal judge has temporarily blocked. Candace Cole, Global News, Washington.
Today marks exactly 1 year since the attempted assassination of Trump during an election campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. And a new report is now shedding light on what it calls the cascade of failures by the Secret Service. A sniper fired at Trump from a nearby rooftop, injuring the presidential candidate and killing an audience member. The gunman was then shot dead by the Secret Service. Well, today, a bipartisan Senate committee released their final report into that incident. It lists numerous failings by the Secret Service, including the lack of counter-snipers at the event, communications failures among law enforcement, and insufficient resources provided to Trump's security detail throughout the campaign. In Texas, the search for victims of last weekend's deadly flash flooding has now been suspended due to more heavy rain. New evacuation orders have now been issued for several counties in central Texas because of a slow-moving storm system. Authorities are monitoring rising water levels in the region. It's the first time recovery efforts have been paused since the flooding on July 4th. At least 129 people were killed and more than 160 others are still missing. Well, if you're looking to escape the heat by installing a pool, now there's an app for that. Coming up, how artificial intelligence is cutting through red tape in Quebec. The mystery surrounding a missing persons case in Quebec appears to have finally been solved after a body was found inside a submerged vehicle. Tow crews hauled the muddy vehicle from the St. Francois River on Friday, and police confirmed that car belonged to Yvonne Gavin, who has been missing since July 2014. Amateur divers from the U.S. and Australia discovered the vehicle. They've used specialized equipment to locate 38 missing people over the past 6 years. Well, if you're thinking about installing a pool to escape the scorching summer heat, the process just got a little easier for some residents in Quebec. Several municipalities are now harnessing the power of artificial intelligence to speed up the permit approvals. The new app can shave months off of project timelines, and as Tim Sargent reports, the technology is expected to be expanded in the future.
We're very thrilled that we see that clients jump into that adventure with us.
Eric Ferrol is one of the key persons behind a new app that uses AI to help residents cut through municipal red tape.
We know that there is a lot of delay in permit emission by municipalities, especially in construction. So we think that this kind of application could be a real deal for the society in general.
A new online form has been developed that allows residents to apply for pool construction permits and find out if they'll be pre-approved within minutes.
This will save the user a lot of time because they're not going back and forth.
Exactly.
See if it conforms, wait for an answer, revise, send back, wait for an answer.
Exactly.
For now, the online application is restricted to pool permits only. The form has been customized for several municipalities.
It's fun that we have already 3 municipalities that jumped into that project with us.
This launch comes only with benefits.
Saint-Laurentide is one of the cities using the application. The mayor says it's a real time saver for residents to be pre-approved.
As a city, we're going to deliver a more efficient and a seamless experience for not our customer, but our citizens.
Applicants are required to upload pool construction details to the online form and answer a series of questions. Within a few clicks, the AI system will tell people if their application meets the city's permit criteria.
This process is meant to make the thing smooth for them.
The app comes just as new pool regulations come into effect across the province by the end of September. Plans are in the works to further develop the app so it can be applied for permit applications well beyond pool construction. Tim Sargent, Global News, Montreal.
Still ahead, the Buy Canadian trend is boosting the bottom line, but can businesses maintain the momentum? The U.S. president's trade war sparked a Buy Canadian movement, and that's boosting the bottom line of businesses across this country. But the big question for retailers is, can that momentum be sustained? And Gaviola on whether the shopping trend will stick around.
Goldilocks Goods has more than 1 million followers worldwide on TikTok, but the Victoria, BC company is run by a handful of local employees.
At Goldilocks Goods, we make eco-friendly products that are both practical and beautiful to help inspire a more plastic-free lifestyle, but we're mostly known for our reusable beeswax food wraps.
The Buy Canadian movement has been a boon for business. Hall says it's the reason her company has seen a 20% jump in orders from retailers looking to stock homegrown products. If Canadians redirected 5 to 10% of their spending to small businesses, that would mean an extra $44 to $88 billion more in earnings for mom and pop shops and the small business economy, according to a recent survey.
It gives small businesses that certainty that they are going to have that longer term support from their customers, and certainty is something that feels right now in very short supply. It's very difficult for small businesses to plan for the future given everything that is happening.
This isn't the first time consumers have used their dollars to support local. Buying local rather than from big box stores or through big tech platforms was a craze during the pandemic years, but it waned. Hall hopes this trend has lasting power.
It is also always going to be difficult going up against those like bigger Walmarts of the world. We're never going to have the pricing that they're able to get because they're ordering in such massive bulk. At the end of the day, even when sometimes those things say they're environmentally friendly, it's like, are they really? So it's another pro being a small business. We're able to really know our entire supply chain start to finish.
Small businesses are often referred to as the lifeblood of the Canadian economy, employing nearly 10 million people across the country and generating more than 35% of private sector GDP.
They're also the businesses that support the local hockey team, they support your local school. So when you are spending in small businesses, you're not just supporting that small business, you're also supporting your entire local community.
It really pays it forward. So sometimes products can be, a little bit more expensive, but that the impact that then has on your local community is like tenfold.
Anne Gaviola, Global News, Toronto.
Up next, the century-old Calgary Stampede gallops towards an all-time attendance record. Country music fans in Saskatchewan turned up in droves for the final day of the province's largest annual music festival. Country Thunder is hosted by the town of Craven with a population of fewer than 300. Country Thunder festivals are held in other parts of North America too, but the Saskatchewan event is the oldest, dating back to 1983. And another big festival is wrapping up tonight in Alberta. The Calgary Stampede, also known as the greatest outdoor show on earth, is now crowning this year's top riders, ropers, and wrestlers. And this year's festival is also galloping towards a major milestone, thanks in part to the U.S. trade war. Craig Mumney reports on the potentially record-breaking rodeo.
After Sunday, there's no tomorrow. No more one last Ferris wheel ride or one last stop at the Midway. However, for the Hargrave family visiting from Scotland, they're all firsts.
I just hope it's going to be a good day. I sort of read a lot about it. It sounds like good fun. So, yeah, it's our first time at a rodeo.
For others, it's been a long 10 days.
Feelings like it's already over now. Even though throughout it was like, okay, another day. Now it's like, it's already over.
A little tired, but you know what? At the end of the day, we made smiles happen, and that's what it's all about.
Marlu Rojas brought his family down from Edmonton, thinking Sunday would be the least busy.
First, the parking is not that crowded, and the lineup too.
But this was the crowd around 11 a.m. The big question on everyone's mind was, will this be another record-setting year for the Stampede, looking to pass its 1.47 million attendance, a record set last year?
We very well may, and we very well may not.
The Stampede would need around 150,000 guests. Of the thousands that already attended this year, Crowley says there may have been a slight increase in Canadians attending over last year, but adds those numbers aren't in yet.
It's purely anecdotal, but I would think that what we've seen both from the Buy Canada movement as well as Canadians traveling to the U.S. statistically dropping, that we probably benefited from that.
That attendance was definitely felt inside the park. This stand says they've likely served hundreds of thousands of mini donuts to guests. And for those already looking ahead to next year, the Calgary Stampede returns July 3rd, 2026. Craig Momney, Global News.
And that is Global National for this Sunday night. I'm Jeff Semple. This week, your Canada has gone global. We're showing you pictures of Canadian pride we've received from all over the world. Tonight, we're showcasing Nazaré, Portugal, Valencia, Philippines, and Ixtapa, Mexico. Keep them coming. Thanks for watching. Donna will be back with you tomorrow. Have a great night.